All right, hello everybody. Welcome. We should be live. We got Tom, and hold on, I didn't press the button.
You didn't even. Jeez, wow.
And when I press the button, something's not right. It won't let me do what I want to do. George is here. You should be seeing George's face.
You're funny.
But yet, see if I switch.
Did you see it or no?
Everybody should be able to see George now, although it's still not right. It's doing weird stuff. But hopefully you can see the whole screen. You can see George. You should be able to see me, George, and the Bitcoin 15-minute time frame. So let me know if that's what's going on. That's what should be going on. Welcome, everybody, to the end of a wild and insane week. Another day, another week where some stuff happened that I did not see coming. So I put out a video, a lot of mixed feelings about it, and we'll definitely talk. So that was on Iris Energy. They had a huge thing they did this week. So this is our first time ever. We started a poll before the live stream, just so we could start to get a read on what people's general thoughts were. And it's going to be interesting. I know a lot of people have a lot of different opinions. And the other thing that I'm just going to say right off the bat is, I don't think you guys can see George now. Can you see? Hold on.
I can't see. What did you do?
I don't know what I'm doing. My tech support's missing. He'll be back in a few minutes. He's doing something else for
It's
me.
okay. No one needs to see me.
No, everybody can see you now. Everybody should be able to see George right now.
Just so you know, I have like the best camera ever.
Yeah.
And now, like, if you look at Tom's stream, it looks like it's all grady. And
if tech support gets back, that's going to get fixed. Because when I see on my screen, George, it looks like you have like a $10,000 camera. It's like so much higher quality than my picture. But I don't know what it looks like to everybody else. But everybody just know tech support is on the way. We will get that fixed. Let me say my hellos. Let's see. Hello, Darren. I can't see the first couple because the
Crypto Fever called me out and said, George, do you see how FUD now works? With the summer of hell and the FTX news, price of Bitcoin actually went up. Yeah, we may go lower, but that doesn't, but not cause of FTF selling. I'm still bullish as ever on Bitcoin and miners. I'm still bullish, but I think I'm starting to change my time period, by the way.
And
I'm starting to think it might be a little longer for the run.
Oh, you think it may be start later than you were expecting?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. I haven't told you that one, but next year's going to be an interesting year.
Well, it already has been, and we are a lot further into this year than I want to believe. Yet another year is just speeding by. I just want to say hello to all the members. Hello, Darren. Hello, Sourmelon Gaming. And if you have not left a thing in the chat, then I don't see you. But if you have, hello. Let's see. Oh, Darren and Sourmelon Gaming got here early, I think, and we're having a long conversation. Hello, Kudab, which is George. Can you do any better? Hello, Mr. J. Hello, Chuck. Hello, Craig. Hello, His Honor. Steven, English. JD.
We got all the guys here today.
JR, Edmund. Edmund is here. I know he's going to have a word or two to say. Crypto Fever, Barry, Omer, Wesley. So, and everybody else, hello. If you're a subscriber, welcome. Thanks for joining us. If you're not a subscriber, feel free to subscribe if you're interested. If you are interested in Bitcoin, if you're interested in the Bitcoin miners, if you're interested in small cap, high growth stocks, if you're interested in two different opinions every Friday after the market closes, then you can hear me and George talk. And obviously, I put out a bunch of videos every week.
Hey, Craig, how you doing, buddy?
Thank you, Craig, for the super chat. And Craig,
yes, thank you.
Craig has to say, new poll. Let's see. New poll. What event happens first? Bitcoin halving or George drops his CleanSpark video to the members?
You know
Some
what?
promises were made lately.
I was working on it this weekend, and I realized it's better as a podcast because I don't have that much footage, but I have a lot of talking. Because, Craig, Zach, everybody, and hang on, and Brad, everybody just opened up, and we had a great conversation. Even though they had all those cargo containers, with all that stuff in there.
I'm going to ask you. I'm definitely going to ask you something about your tour today. We have a very extremely relevant question. By the way, Craig, my guess is the halving to answer your question.
But I think somebody wrote
in this video.
Yeah, somebody wrote in there about Bitcoin 100K in the next 2 years. I think that's becoming my thought process too.
100K in the next. So you're still very bullish in the long term, but you have maintained all the year 2023. You've been kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop. You've been waiting to see a big dip at some point. Oh, by the way, thank you, Mr. J. Mr. J gifted one Talking Investing membership.
Welcome,
Let's see
Ken.
Who got it? Oh, you beat me to it. Welcome, Ken, as our newest member of the Talkin' Investing Squad. If you guys don't know what that is, for $5 a month, you can become a member and support the channel. It's we try and keep that very, very inexpensive. It's only $5. I do a deep dive video every single week that's for the members only. George and I do a live stream every Tuesday after the market closes. That's just for the members only. And we have a members only Discord, which has been on fire this week, the last couple of weeks, because we've had some stuff happen with the Bitcoin miners the last couple of weeks. I mean, it's on. People are making their move, and some people like some of it, some people don't like some of it, and there's going to be a lot of differences of opinion. So the one thing that I would say as we get going today is we're going to disagree. George and I are going to disagree. We're going to disagree amongst ourselves, amongst members, amongst subscribers. So if everybody just please try to bear in mind, this is not a, right and wrong, smart
it's
and
not
dumb
rocket scientist.
all that stuff. Everybody's got their own opinion.
Right.
And and a lot of us have different risk tolerances. We have different time frames, and we have different I'll tell you, for instance, and then I'll turn it over to you, George. I think watching, and I know it's hard, most people do not have time to watch all these earnings calls, but when you watch an earnings call, you get you get a sense of management, and it adds an additional layer of nuance. And so for me, I'm going to talk a little later about the Iris earnings call. That really was a big part, and I didn't put any of that in my Iris video. That was a big piece of the puzzle, so we'll talk later. We'll get everybody's input later. All right, George.
But I can tell you, and I'll tell everybody as they watch, one of the things I think the reason why Bitcoin is still fluctuating the way it is, and Tom and I had a really long talk about this today, is not your keys, not your wallet. You need to get these Bitcoin off of exchanges, guys. If you have Bitcoin on the exchanges, that's one of the reasons why Bitcoin is not pumping yet. Until we get those coins off of the exchanges, there's not going to be a sizable pump, in my opinion. And I think that's where we're really starting to see the problem with, take hold with why this is a very small range and there's not a big pop, is because the dilution is still there. But with an example, Robinhood. They're not going out and buying more Bitcoin if you buy a Bitcoin. They're only buying more Bitcoin when you take it off an exchange. Yes, they might be doing something that's like market to market, and I won't even explain that, but they might be doing something like that, but they're not going and buying and taking those coins off of their balance book. Until they're off that exchange, they're going to always have the largest number of Bitcoin in their wallet.
Well, and even more so, just to add to your point, sorry to interrupt, George. I'm just going to add, the Binances of the world and the non-publicly traded, unregulated crypto exchanges are still. They put uncertainty, and George is talking about one of the reasons. There's any uncertainty, as you guys know, the market loathes uncertainty. And these, for as long as these crypto exchanges don't have full and complete transparency, and I'm not a regulations person, you know, so you won't normally see me shouting, let's get regulations, but I think until we get some reasonable regulations on the books so that everybody has a comfort level, this is how all this works, it's something that's suppressing the price of Bitcoin, and it's for one of the reasons that George just explained.
Yeah, and it goes in a lot deeper than that. I mean, it goes it's many levels deep. And if you guys don't get your coins, I don't believe that who is it? Robinhood has the biggest wallet, or was it second or third biggest wallet?
Right. It was.
I believe they hold the second or third biggest wallet because the people on their exchanges have not taken their keys for their coins.
Right.
And
they are holding custody of a lot of.
And what people don't realize is they get to use those coins and make money in other ways. In the network, and that's another thing that people aren't even talking about. You know, they might have 1 billion free of coins, but I don't think they have 3 billion free of coins, if you know what I mean. So sorry, Tom.
No, that's all right. I'm going back. I'm switching back and forth between 1 day and the 15-minute here. So you know, we're down a little bit. For those of you who don't know, the orange line is where the price of Bitcoin was when the U.S. equity markets closed yesterday. So we like to track that on channel day over day. So from yesterday's close, you know, we are down today, but you know, it was 1%. So Bitcoin was down 1%. Now, the market was down. It was a red day everywhere. So most of the Bitcoin miners were red. It was a tough day, some worse than others. Two gigantic exceptions that we'll talk about later. One that continues to mystify me, which is BitDeer, so I definitely want to talk about BitDeer as well. We have Sour Melon Gaming. First of all, Sour Melon Gaming with a members-only chat. Member for 6 months, so thank you for being a member. And Sour Melon Gaming said, Fred Thiel has now started a chain reaction of careless dilution. First Marathon, now Iris. Who's next? And this is kind of what we talked about. This is what I labeled today's live stream, because it's like, it does seem like this is an awful, you know, between those two companies, there's the better part of $1 billion of dilution. And, you know, all the market, all the Bitcoin miners put together don't even equal $10 billion.
Talking investing.
So it's not like, you know, this is a, you know, in some places $1 billion is a rounding error. That is not the case. These Bitcoin miners are small cap. The big Bitcoin miners are small cap stocks. Most of them are micro cap stocks or nano cap stocks. You know, less than, half of these are less than $50 million. Now, there's 12 that we track that are give or take between $200 million and $2 billion. So there's really 12 that have that level of market cap. Everything else is smaller than that. So everything else is micro cap, nano cap. And, you know, even though 200 million is still really a micro cap stock. So these things are small. So when they do these gigantic dilutions, it does make a big difference to the industry. We got 111 votes on this first poll. Should we call it? Because I think the people have spoken. We'll get to the next poll. So let's just talk about, first let me just get tech support in and see if he can.
As you do that, I have something to say about Iris. And that is this. Realize something. When somebody has to sell you something, marketing is amazing, and there's a reason why we spend billions of dollars a year on marketing. The reason we do it is because we give this piece of crap product in this really pretty package. Okay, so that's the reason why, and then they get some celebrity to endorse it, so they spend more money on that celebrity to endorse that product. The reason why I say this is sometimes this is what happens with miners, Bitcoin miners. So when you have those types of situations, what are they shoveling? What are they shoveling? Number one. Number two is, how can you take and go and raise twice your market share? That's what I want to know. Sorry.
So that, so I assume you were talking about Iris. I
Iris.
did get distracted. Yep. Everybody should now see me and George at the same size here, properly You're not exactly in the center of your screen, George.
No, no, I know. I'm always moving around.
All right, no problem. So anyway, tech support's back and they fixed that. Yeah, that's and so one of my things with Iris Energy, and I want to tell both sides of the story, and I encourage people to watch my video, and please watch the first half of that video. I do go through all the good things that Iris Energy has done because I've added a lot of Iris Energy this year. I've been adding heavily to 3 companies. I did do a video that said I'm not going to add any more to Iris Energy. I think the risk profile changed. That doesn't mean I think it's now a garbage company and I'm selling all my shares. What they did to me changes the risk. They're a much higher reward, but with that level of risk, it's a higher risk, higher reward. I'm already very high risk, and they just went from middle of the road risk on the spectrum of Bitcoin miners. They are now, in my opinion, the most aggressive Bitcoin miner with the plan they just laid out. And one of the things is, like we've been talking about, if you adjust for the financial statements with the amount of shares that we now know that they have out, they're about a $300 million market cap. They want to issue $500 million of stock. Now, typically when a company does an at-the-market offering, that means that, they talk about that authorizes them essentially a shelf offering to sell shares. Typically, it's a 2-year window of time, approximately. They're free to do it. Usually the language is, from time to time at a time of their choosing. So, in other words, they've got some cash on the side, and typically a shareholder thinks, okay, they've got some money set aside. They can be opportunistic. If things come up, if an opportunity knocks, they got money to go grab it and get it. That's not what happened here. Simultaneously with this, literally on the same day, they issued their financial statements and they had their investor quarterly conference call. On that conference call, they said they will be using at a minimum, and those are their words, at a minimum, they will be using 100% of this at the market offering for improvements at the Childress operation in Texas. So they've already earmarked and committed 100% of this $500 million. So that's not, I'm not going to say it's unprecedented, but no other, that's not typically what happens when somebody lists a shelf offering. So in addition to that, they said it's really going to take $626 million. So it's actually going to take another $126 million past the $500 million, which they went through, if they use all their cash plus all their at-the-market offering plus some other stuff, they can get to where they're going. Honestly, if you do the math, they talk about getting to 30 exahash. That won't get them anywhere near 30 exahash because, they still have to buy 24 exahash of machines. In addition to building the infrastructure for, I think it's, 560 or 580 megawatts left that they have there in Texas in Childress. So that doesn't mean I think that any of that isn't worth doing. They may end up being one of the big winners, but it's an extremely, for those of you who don't think that's an aggressive plan, I would ask you to review what all the other Bitcoin miners have done. I don't think you'll find anybody who came out of the gates. That's not true. And a couple of times we've called them out. I'll tell you, George and I had a long conversation immediately the day it happened. I'll go back to any stock ticker ANY Sphere 3D. They came out with an announcement, and it was, every circumstance is different. So I'm not saying they were identical, but they came out and did something that was unbelievably aggressive. It didn't make any sense at all, and it turned out to be 100% inaccurate. I don't think that's the case here with Iris Energy. I'm not saying this is all inaccurate. Like, that was actually just inaccurate. Nothing that they said happened at all. They talked about a machine they were going to buy that was significantly better than the best machine on the market. They were going to buy, I think, 32.6 exahash worth of those machines. Back at a time where 5 exahash was like, made you a giant. And, none of that came to fruition at all. So, those machines didn't even exist. So when I see some things, we have to call it like we see it. But I want to be clear. I'm not saying I think that this is wrong. I just think it's uber aggressive. And I don't think we've seen anybody else do anything like this.
So, Tom, Ryan brought up an interesting point. and I won't read exactly what he said, but basically, CleanSpark did basically the same thing as what he's saying. Is that correct?
I would argue that is CleanSpark did something similar. CleanSpark has done a bunch of dilution. However, CleanSpark did this, and this is what I said in my video yesterday. I think it's a lot more palatable to investors if you do this in chunks. CleanSpark went from point A to point B to point C to point D, and they were opportunistic. They made 8 or 10 different moves to get to where they are right now. So you got to evaluate each step of the way. Oh, good, they bought a data center here. You walked through one of them, George. That's something they bought, right? It was
with that money. Yeah.
So, you know, with that, with their dilution, they bought a turnkey data center.
Shipping containers, but still, go on.
We're going to talk more about that later. Thanks for mentioning that. And so in total, right, as a percentage, it was a lot, each step was a lot smaller. They did not fully commit their at the market. The day, you know, they didn't create a $500 million at the market program and say it's now fully committed to this. They said we're going to be opportunistic. We're going to be careful. Also, they got themselves to 16 exahash. So on top of all of that, so that's not talking about 30 exahash. On top of all of that, they did it a year to a year and a half earlier in the cycle. So I feel like the companies that did that over this period of time, that was a much better time. We were in a crypto winter. They were able to fund. Now, they had to dilute at lower numbers, but I don't think it's going to get any better. I don't think, you know, I don't see, for those of you who think that, you know, and Iris Energy is going to jump up to 10 or 15 or $20 and then they're going to get their dilution at that rate. I think the mere fact that they've already committed to $626 million in spending, they're going to have a very, very hard time getting institutions to come in and buy this. So I think their stock's going to go sideways for a long time. Again, this does not, I'm not saying, I've been a big advocate of Iris Energy, and half my video went through the fact that I think everything they've done operationally this year and financially this year has been very good. They're cash flow positive. They have positive EBITDA. They got rid of 100% of their debt. Their current ratio is outstanding. So, you know, I could sit here and make a very bull case for Iris Energy. I think they've done a lot of the right things. But on the flip side, then on the very same day that they give me all that good news, they say, by the way, we're going to spend $626 million. We're a $300 million market cap company. I go, uh-oh, I've seen this movie before. Actually, I saw it with Iris Energy when they ramped up and borrowed $100 and something million and had to unwind all that because it was too aggressive. They got out ahead of themselves and had to start from scratch. Now, to their credit, they set those deals up financially very well, which I also talked about in my video. They got themselves out of all that debt, and they structured it that way, so I don't feel sorry for the lender. The lender agreed to those terms, and they were able to press the reset button and start over. But unlike the last time when it was other people's money and it was lenders, third-party institutions, this is going to be our money. This is going to be shareholder money. So, you know, whereas last time so if Bitcoin goes sideways, if this takes longer than we think to get to where we're going, it's not going to be institutions that are holding the bag. It's going to be shareholders.
So I just want to hang on. I just got to interrupt you for a second, give you a chance to take a breath. So, hey guys, one of the things we do is we go through the stuff we're going to talk about. It's called show prep. And one of the ways you guys can hijack that, because when we get a lot of questions, it's hard to get to them all. But if you guys would have a question, throw us $5, $10, $20, and we'll go right to that question and answer that question. If not, we'll get to it when we get to it. You're in line with everybody else, okay, guys? Not trying to be rude. I'm just trying to let you know how it goes, how the show goes. We got 52 likes, 158 people watching. If you could do us a favor and hit the like button, probably should have started with that. Go on, Tom.
Oh, thank you, George. Yes.
Tom, you know why?
If you'd be so kind, you can smash the like button. Thank you very much.
And I'm going to tell you something, and this is what is great about our community and us all talking about it. You don't have to agree with Tom. You don't have to agree with George. We're challenging you so you can bring us back information and saying, well, this is why I think this way. This is why you're wrong, Tom. Not like, Tom, you're an idiot. You know,
There,
that doesn't help anybody. If you don't agree, I need hard facts of why you don't agree. And it's a disgusting hit piece. That's great, Ryan. Tell me why. Why is it a disgusting hit piece? Because you say so, Ryan? Tell me why. I want to know why. Not because you're just telling us the disgusting hit piece. Tom has told you he is a big holder of Iris, and he was disappointed that Iris did what they did, and instead of doing a organized plan, they just came out and asked for a ton of money worth more than their market cap currently. So that's what's great about doing this, is we get to hear other sides. And you know what? I convinced Tom a little bit, not completely, on the whole marathon dilution when they did it. I think marathon diluting actually was a good thing, because I think it makes the chances of them staying in business in perpetuity really good. Sorry, go.
No,
Let's see what Ryan said.
That's an important point. For most of these issues, there's two sides to every story. But I would ask people to be fair, and if you're watch my video, because I spent 5 or 6 or 7 minutes presenting the fact that here's all the great stuff about Iris. I didn't just come out and be like, I hate Iris. I even said, listen, this just changes their risk profile. If you let me know if you don't think this changes their risk profile, then we have a difference of opinion, and that's okay. Every investor looks at things a different way. So I think this changes their risk profile. I already am in a lot of high risk stuff. I already, like I've been telling everybody all year, and been very open. Cleanspark, Iris Energy, and Bitfarms, in that order. Those are the 3 I've been adding to the most in 2023. So I have put a bunch of money into this. So, and I even said in my video, it's not like I'm going to liquidate all my shares and I'm out. I just can't add to this position anymore. I've taken on enough risk, and so that's my mitigating factor.
So Ryan's, I guess his point is that they're diluting to add to their infrastructure. That's the whole point that Ryan's making.
And I agree, and I went through that in my video. They're definitely, this is all, so when they say it's accretive, I agree with that. It is accretive. The question is, they just spent a year going from, they had 6 months ago on they do financial statements every 6 months. So 6 months ago's financial statements, they had $70 million in current assets and $140 million in current liabilities. That is a 1-to-2 current ratio. That is the type of current ratio for most industries that indicates a company's in trouble or deep trouble. Now, it depends on the industry. They turned that around. Instead of being 1-to-2 negative, they're now 3.5-to-1 positive. They have 3.5 times as many current assets as they do current liabilities. If they implement this plan, they're going to completely undo that. That doesn't mean they're not going to have assets, but they're going to be converting their current assets to long-term assets, hence increasing their risk, because their cash runway is going to be a lot less. And if Bitcoin doesn't do what they needed to do, and they're not cash flow positive because we had a halving event and Bitcoin didn't get to where it needs to get to, then all of a sudden they've used all their cash, they've used all their at-the-market offering, and they have no cash left, and they're cash flow negative, and now they're in trouble. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I don't even think that's going to happen, but the possibility is substantially greater after this plan than it was before this plan. By the flip side, like Ryan's saying, this is all accretive. So if Bitcoin just does okay or good, and they, stick to plan, stay on budget, get bigger, they may end up being the winner. And I literally did say word for word in my video, if they execute this plan to perfection, they will in fact be, in my opinion, the best Bitcoin miner out of all the Bitcoin miners. So that's the reward side. So, I acknowledge both sides. There's massive potential reward to this, but my point is there's now massive potential risk in addition to that. So it's, what's your risk appetite? for a lot of people, they may feel like the risk is less than I think it is. They may be more bullish on. I'm bullish on Bitcoin, but on time frame, I'm pretty leery. I don't know, is Bitcoin going to get back, is to its all-time highs 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, 2 years from now? The answer to that is going to be the difference for a lot of these companies. It will, in fact, be the difference between being in business and going out of business.
I can tell you, I don't know too much about Iris. I never really have done anything. I know nothing about them. The only thing I hate about when they do a market off is it seems when the stock gets on a tear, then all of a sudden they dump it. And then there goes the price. And that always pisses me off. And it happened. That was why I wasn't a big fan in Bitfarms. And that was why I was kind of pissed at Cleanspark for a little while too. Is because, all of a sudden they'd be on a tear and then you see, oh, okay, boom. And I think there's a reason why these guys are doing this now, by the way. And you're not even talking about that, Tom. I think it's because they know that Bitcoin right now is at a peak.
So you think right now they're doing dilution because this is their opportunity, and later the price is going to be lower, and they're not going to have the chance. So that's an even different angle than I'm taking.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's is definitely a reason why they're looking at this, because I mean, they got a whole bunch of guys that are geeking out over the Bitcoin, and they're hearing all this going on as Crypto Fever put it, FUD, and they're saying, what, guys, this could be the time to do this. Because I mean, if they had a better strategy, they probably wouldn't have done it until the beginning of the year, and we all know that the halving's coming up quickly.
All right, I just want to address something, because somebody's saying, Tom, Iris did not have debt. They had mining equipment secured by debt. So they had debt. All you have to do, and again, I don't want to get into the weeds, but all this information is publicly available. Pull up their December 31st, 2022 financial statements, which is the latest and greatest until they just issued them 2 days ago. You will see $100 and something million of debt on their balance sheet. They had debt. The fact that it was secured debt, it makes it even worse. If you're going to have debt, you would much prefer have unsecured debt as a company. By having it be secured debt, they had to give all their machines back to get rid of their debt. Now, it was non-recourse, which means beyond that which they secured, and they created some special companies that insulated them in addition to that. So like I said, I think they structured that financially very well. But to say that they don't have debt is just patently false. They had $100 million in debt. I mean, there's nobody arguing that. That's in their financial statement. So this is what I'm saying. Like, it's okay to disagree, but we got to stick to the facts.
Yeah, I don't think that everybody else went for that much money. And here's the other thing, Ryan. If you were a true believer in Iris, which it sounds like you are, you would be happy that Tom did this video, because that would be suppressing the price. If Tom because it's been a really popular video, by the way, and that would mean it would suppress the price, and that long term you're going to be in a much better position, my opinion.
For those who want to buy this, Iris was down. It was way up yesterday. Everything yesterday was a green day, and it was way down today, and today was a red day. It was down 10.3.8% today, according to what I'm looking at right here. If this is updated, I want to talk. Barry did a member chat, and Barry has been a member for 12 months. And he said, if the next billion that comes into the miners goes to Iris and Mara, our portfolios won't grow. Tom is right. We should burn them to the ground. All right. I'm not saying burn them I don't want anybody to burn anybody to the ground. And I still hold a lot of Iris energy. So, I don't know if I'm getting my point across. I hold a lot of Iris energy. I'm not willing to take any more risk. And I feel like, here's the one big thing that I'll say, and then I would just ask everybody to ask themselves this question.
Do you feel lucky, punk? Sorry.
I'm very dispassionate about my investing. And that doesn't mean I'm a dispassionate person. You'll see I do get very worked up. I'm passionate about all this stuff. I love what we do here. And I'm hoping we have a great conversation. We have differences of opinion and all that. But when it comes to my decision making, I'm very dispassionate. In other words, I don't have a company that I love and I'm going to stick with no matter what, till the bitter end, just because I decided I like that company. If new facts come up, I assess those facts, and I have to make my decision. Now, I always tell everybody, this is not financial advice. You know, everybody has to do the same thing I do for themselves through their own filter. So this is clearly new information. I mean, this is the biggest information Iris Energy's ever had. They're about to dilute themselves, 180%. So you have to digest that information, and we're all going to have a different, we're all going to feel a little bit differently about that. If we look at the poll, almost 80% of the people with 157 votes do not like what they did. So, that doesn't mean they're right either. What it means is everybody has a difference of opinion, because on the flip side, 22% of the people are in favor, and they like what Iris Energy did. And what I'm saying is, I don't know what the answer is. We're going to find out. I hope I'm totally wrong. I hope Bitcoin runs. I hope Iris continues to execute, because I think, operationally they've been executing. So if they do all this just right, like I said in my video, they may end up being the #1 Bitcoin miner stock to hold. But to me, the risk has gotten a lot higher. So, if you disagree with that, I'm not going to everybody, there should be people that disagree with me, and you should, be very skeptical of healthy skepticism of everybody that says anything. I don't have an agenda. I mean, if I had an agenda, I would have done, this is the greatest move ever, because like I said, I've been crystal clear. I've been buying this stock all year long. I've dollar cost averaged into this stock almost every single week this year. So,
oh really? Wow.
if I had an agenda, I would have just said, "Wow, this is awesome. Go Iris."
Dude, you know what? You gotta talk to me before you do this stuff. Then, I mean, you're in it for you, aren't you? You're in it for the people.
I interpret, and I may be right, and
that's
I may be
very
wrong.
honest. I mean, you gotta love that one. He's hurting himself by doing a video.
I hold the stock. I'm just giving you my opinion, and like, everybody's welcome, and please share your opinions. But to George's point, don't just say, this. I get these comments like, "Oh, that video sucked." All right, welcome to Talking Investing. You're stupid. Okay, maybe I am stupid. Why? Why am I stupid? Tell me why I'm stupid.
You want me to tell you?
I mean, George could tell better than anybody. He's known me for decades, so he could write a book on why I'm stupid. But that's not the point.
Dr. J, thank you. Crypto Rich Crypto, welcome to the membership. What is it? Tuesdays, 4:15. We do a members only chat where we talk about stocks, and we actually talk more about other stocks than just not Bitcoin miners on Tuesday. We talk more about, just opportunities that are out there, some swing trades and some option trading. And it really is a group effort. It isn't just Tom and George. More Tom than George. Tom,
yes.
dead air.
Sorry.
Hang on a second. We see Go Bills and it throws us off because we've already realized
we've
picked the wrong team. Yeah, we've written the season off.
A lifelong Bills fan, but after what I just saw, it's the same thing. I love the Bills. I'm a lifelong Bills fan, but I just watched the game. I can't deny what my eyes saw. Thank you, Mr. J, for the gift. I think George already mentioned that. He gifted 1 membership. And to George's point, I was reading the comments, which always sidetracks me. To George's point, we talk about a lot of our stuff in the members-only live stream. We're a little, freer to talk about things. And the members pick videos and companies for us to discuss and that kind of stuff. So, it's a deeper conversation. It's a little more open. And more importantly, we have a members-only Discord where we really get to talk a lot. And I know, listen, it gets pretty heated in there too. There are differences of opinion, but I would ask the same thing. There's always going to be differences of opinion. Just please try and express through your opinion, and versus just saying like the other person is dumb or what. Those aren't productive comments, and they're really not helping anybody. You know, I got a very interesting comment that I want to talk to people about because I think it's a crucial point. One person left me a comment to my video that said, Iris has a lot of smart people. You know, what makes you think you're smarter than them? If they think this is the right thing to do, you know, then you know, they're going to make a lot of money doing it. And what I would caution you, my answer to that would be, because this has nothing to do with who's smarter, right?
Yes, it does. I disagree with that statement.
Well, you can give your opinion after. To me, when I give my opinion, I'm not saying I think I'm smarter than management. And when each individual looks at a stock, they shouldn't ask themselves. And my point is,
okay,
you shouldn't.
Sorry.
Then you can make your point, because it sounds like you've got an addition to that. It's your money. You're investing your money. So when it comes to your money, on that one subject matter, you're the smartest person on earth, right? Because you're the only one it affects. So
that's correct.
And just because management says something, I can point to 100 companies right now, publicly traded companies, whose management said something and now they're out of business. So don't just assume management's really smart, and just because they said they're doing it, that it's going to work, right? That's not.
Yeah,
that's a dangerous way to invest.
Yeah, management is just people, and unfortunately, people aren't always have good intentions or are telling you what they honestly believe.
And those are fair points too. Just because they said it doesn't even mean they necessarily believe
I don't
it.
even. Yeah, I don't even know how many people work at Iris. Do you know how many people work there?
We could look it up. I don't know. It's got to be
because
a decent number.
I was in shock how low of a number Cleanspark had. I was in absolute shock that it was only like, I want to say it was like 140 people.
Yeah, I believe it. I mean,
it was really, really low.
That makes sense. And I don't think there's a Bitcoin miner out there that has substantially more employees than the number that you just said. Most of them actually have less than that. Some of them have a lot less than that. But some of them are a lot smaller. You know, Cleanspark has much bigger operations than the average. Edmund saying, Tom, okay, you made your point. However, you have hurt Iris. I don't appreciate your hammering Iris. So, you know, my only answer to that, Edmund, is the reality is I am a tiny, tiny, tiny voice, and I just don't move markets. It doesn't matter what. It just doesn't matter what I say. I don't move markets up. I don't move markets down. So I understand what you're saying, and I'm not trying to harp on it. And like I said, if you watch my video, I spend most of my video talking about the good things they've done. So, you know, I don't want to spend the whole the entire stream on this. You know, if you guys want to talk more, maybe we can revisit this later if we have other people join in, so that, you know, everybody doesn't get bored with this. But, you know, everybody is free to have their own opinion. That's a big part of investing. But the one thing I would say, that one comment that I got where it's like, you know, management's smart, you know, do what they do. No, you're smart about your money. That's the most important thing, because you're the one who has to put your head on your pillow every night and go to sleep and feel good about how you've invested your money. So, you know, that's why I always say this isn't financial advice, because it's not. I don't know anything about your money and your financial position. So, and neither does management. And they don't necessarily have your best interest in mind. You know, in a perfect world, they have a fiduciary responsibility to their shareholders, and they should be working for you. But human beings are human beings. It's going to be human nature that, you know, they may be making some moves that they can justify in their own mind, but may not really be what's best for you. So I'll end it this way. I hope the best for Iris. I hold a lot of their stock, and so I'm pulling for them, but I'm not going to add any more to my current stack.
Oh, that was a good one. Mr. J, that's $1 million question. Tom, any news on your AC?
Yeah, the news on my AC is that it doesn't work, and they can't even give me a time frame. So I feel like what's happened here is, because the part is warranted, they don't care. The manufacturer doesn't care. They want to sell new machines, so every part they got, they're putting in new machines. And the ones that they have to give to replace on warranty that they're not getting any money for, I just feel like they don't care, and I don't have any idea how long. I will continue to pester the company that I'm dealing with, but that's not the manufacturer, and I'm just pestering them, but I will keep doing that because it's all I can do.
I have a question, and Jason brings up an interesting point. Are you selling any of your Irish stock?
I think I'm going to sell somewhere around between 20 and 30% of my Irish stock.
Oh, okay.
So I think I'm going to hold the majority. I will certainly hold the majority.
Are you in a good position with it?
Yeah, I'm still positive on my Iris right now. I could have sold it all yesterday and made a big profit. Well, not a big profit, but I could have made a nice little profit and moved on. But I still am rooting for them and want them to succeed, and I want to participate in that upside if it happens. I may mitigate my risk a little bit more.
Well, the guys, just so you know, I'm going to be shorting Iris. So the way you can steal my money is by making sure the price of Iris goes up. So if it goes down, remember me.
FE702, thank you for the super chat. FE702 said people's feelings are hurt on Iris. I mean, everybody's got a difference of opinion, and I know there's a lot of people that's their number one conviction. It's been a high conviction play for me all year long. So, you know, I get it.
So, Tom, I have another question. Did they talk about immersion technology?
So they did talk about immersion technology. This was another thing that they mentioned. So for those of you who hold stock in any of the other Bitcoin miners in Texas, they did have something very harsh to say about the other Bitcoin miners. And I was a little bit taken back by this. They said that immersion cooling in Texas does not work. Quote, we've been telling people this over and over. It defies the laws of physics. It cannot work.
What?
So I thought that was a fairly strong statement to make, since a lot of Bitcoin mining in Texas is using immersion cooling. So
that's not even a logical statement.
Listen, you guys can watch the conference call. I didn't say it; he said it, but that's what he said. It goes against the laws of physics. According to the laws of physics, immersion cooling cannot work in Texas. Those are his words, not mine.
The law of physics. What is he? I don't even know where he's going with that.
And apparently this is something that he's been saying for a long time, because he said, I've been telling you guys this over and over and over.
Well, that doesn't make logical sense after being in immersion cooling with a half a exahash. That doesn't make any sense to me. Now I wonder what he needs the money for. I figured he was doing immersion technology, and that was the reason why they needed all that money. Because it is a bigger upfront cost.
I mean, they're developing they have a huge plot of land. They're developing a huge, I think all in it's going to be 600 megawatts. It's a huge facility. It's going to be one of the biggest facilities, so but apparently, they do data centers, and he did explain, and they have explained, they create data centers. I think what they do is different. I can't tell you exactly how it's different, but they claim their data centers are best in breed, and it's just better than what everyone else is doing. He mentioned, I think he was using the word sea container, but what I think he was talking about is he's saying all the other miners use, the best translation I could find looking it up was shipping containers that they're running all their machines out of, but
This isn't I'm not trying to be rude. Is English his primary language?
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know. It could be a foreigner. I don't know.
They're Australian. Correct me if I'm wrong.
But I'm not trying to be rude. I was just asking. I didn't know. Maybe he's just saying things not correct.
They're a highly efficient miner. If you look at their numbers, there's 4 miners that are just and they even showed this in their own. I'll show you. I screenshotted this. This is from their investor presentation. So you can see this is exahash versus output. They have 5.6 exahash and they mined 410 Bitcoin. So as I go through every month, Iris is always one of the top 4 most efficient miners. Many months this year they've been in first or tied for first. And you can go through and see this exactly corresponds to my list. CleanSpark. So the more this thing is filled, the more the equation that you're efficient. So you can see CleanSpark is almost filled. You see almost no white. Iris is completely filled. Bitfarms is almost completely filled. And Hive is almost completely filled. Those 4 companies, I've been saying all year, those are by far the 4 most efficient companies. Now, BitDigital is relatively similar in their efficiency, but they mine so few Bitcoin that I don't include them on my list. Right, they're mining 140, which is, a third or a fourth or a fifth, or just so much less. They miss that group that, of 300, 400, 500, 600, 1,000. But if you want to include BitDigital, they're very efficient as well. So this is in their favor. Whatever their data centers are, whatever their process is, it's working. They're very efficient. But so is CleanSpark. So that my top 4, which I say every month, so I'll reiterate it. CleanSpark, Iris Energy, Bitfarms, and Hive are very efficient Bitcoin miners. That is efficient as it pertains to how many Bitcoin they mine per exahash. So there's a lot of different ways to measure efficiency. So by that measure, and this slide comes right from Iris Energy's own investor presentation, and I agree with it completely. They're highly efficient.
I don't know what's wrong with shipping containers, honestly. I mean, I was thinking about it because you could get a vortex in there and really do a great heat exchange. I never even thought of that. I mean, that's the biggest problem is the heat. And you could probably get the most efficiency out of it, be honest with you, because the space is so small. Sorry.
Edmund said, just disappointed that Tom jumped to unfounded conclusions without some direct research. Well, I don't know. If you know somebody who researches this more than I do, let me know. That doesn't mean I'm right. I'm never going to tell you I'm right. I always tell you this is not financial advice, but it's certainly not from a lack of research. I don't hardly even sleep researching this stuff day and night.
Somebody said a really interesting point, and that was that if we're at this price at the halving, we're in serious trouble.
If we're at this point at the halving, there are several Bitcoin miners that will have a big problem. There are some Bitcoin miners that will be able to make it through because they have very strong balance sheets. That's one of the things I'm talking about. The companies that have a strong current ratio, a lot of assets to get through a halving that doesn't maybe go the way we want it to go, those companies will survive the halving because they have the liquidity to do so. So that's one.
So you don't think that BlackRock or another? Sorry, damn it. You don't think that companies that have a lot of money would be suppressing, and so they can, really control the price of these miners for the next, say 18 or 24 months of these Bitcoin miners?
They may be doing that for the purposes of Bitcoin, but I don't think big money cares about the Bitcoin miners because, like I said, every single Bitcoin miner on this list that you're looking at on this page altogether is less than $10 billion of market cap. That's a rounding error. The big companies trade, 10 or 50 or 100 times that much money every day. So,
really? Wow.
This is just irrelevant to
but I gotta think
Fidelity
there's somebody
or whatever the case may be, and I'm just using them at random as a big money company. So,
I mean, the way I think that big money works, Tom, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you can explain this to me better. But I think the way big money works is like they have a group of people that are on this industry and then that industry and so on and so forth. And then they become experts at that industry, knowing how to manipulate the price by what type of pressures to put on it.
I'm not arguing that point. My point is I think that if they're doing that, they're doing it with Bitcoin, not so much the Bitcoin miners, because it's just immaterial. Right? Let's put it this way. There's 50 companies whose market cap fluctuates more than this almost every single day.
Just but if it's a solid, so then I would imagine these guys have to make X number of dollars, a month, a week, a year, I'm sure, and that they have to do swing trades, or are they doing all long-term trades? A lot of them are doing. So I bet you they have some people that are long-term, some people are swing trades, and some people are day traders for these big companies.
Absolutely. They got different people sitting at different desks. There's people in the same hedge funds doing the exact opposite things. There's no question about it.
And I'll stop there because I could go even deeper, and I don't want to. So anyways, let's keep going on.
Yes.
Go on.
Yeah, there's lots of stuff to talk about. Crypto, this caught my eye, and I do have a hard time keeping up with the chat, but I notice things every once in a while. Crypto Rich Crypto said strong balance sheet like Marathon. So yes, I actually completely agree with that. Marathon is one of the companies that has a fortress of a balance sheet. So whatever Bitcoin, and I'm not saying this is going to happen, but Bitcoin could go to 5,000, and Marathon would make it through a whole nother crypto winter because they have that liquidity. And, Riot is the same thing. That's why their market caps are so much larger than all the other companies. Now, both of those companies have a lot of their assets tied up in Bitcoin, so that would hurt a little, but Marathon has consistently kept $100 million sitting on their balance sheet for quite some time now. So I'm not a big Marathon guy, but, I've always said very strong balance sheet. I did not love the move they just made. We talked all Friday last week about that. I wasn't in favor of it. I understand people's line of reasoning. George put forth a good counterpoint. And by the way, several people, Edmund, Hank, if you're out there, there's 3 or 4 people that put very good counterpoints together regarding Iris Energy this week. So I encourage everybody to read the comments section. Take some of them with a grain of salt. There's some people in there that just hate, but there's other people giving thoughtful counterpoint. And that's what I'm hoping everybody does.
Tom, $49.99 from Crypto Fever. You want to take it?
Whoa. So thank you very much, Crypto Fever. Much appreciated for starters for the super chat. Tom, so Crypto Fever says, Tom, would love if you could find the time to look into the parasite that was holding the convertible notes for Mara, which is Anson Funds. I did research into this and can post links in members chat if you need. Would love to hear your take on this. And then CleanSpark, Riot, Marathon, Bitcoin. So thank you very much, Crypto Fever. I will do that. Then absolutely, Anson Funds. We got on our members only chat. We did talk a lot about how we think that maybe that was a big part of what was going on there with Marathon, and they were responsible in some part, whether it was large part or I don't know what the case may be. But I would be glad over the weekend to dig into this for sure. So I will do that. Thank you very much, Crypto Fever. Thanks for the recommendation. Thanks for the super chat. Yeah, I haven't had a chance. Obviously, so much is going on this week. I haven't really looked at that, and I spent so much time on Marathon last week, but I would be glad to do that this weekend. So, yes, mark it down. I will do that. Thank you for the suggestion and the super chat.
Super chat. Thank you so much, Crypto Fever. So, Tom, are we going to have another pump this weekend in Bitcoin?
Well,
it's funny I say that.
I'll give the same answer that I've been giving for a long time now. I don't know. We are so neutral. So from the technical standpoint, we're very neutral. This is the 15-minute time frame, which technically I don't look at the technicals on this. They really, to me, they don't give me any information. There may be some day traders that, even time frames much smaller than this are meaningful to, but I do look at the 1 day. And if you look at the 1 day, we just had a nice 3 green candles in a row. We did an incredibly strong retest. If you guys remember, just 4 days ago, we got down to, on this chart, it says 24,900. It looked like there was a 50-50 chance, that we were going to break to the downside. So, this is how fast Bitcoin moves. So many things have happened since then. We're not even talking about that, but that may be the most significant thing that happened this week. We had a super, super strong retest of support. And if you look at the daily candle, I'm going to go to a different chart. I showed this on the members only stream. Let's take a look at this. I have the same chart. It just takes all of my lines off of here. A lot of this is my analysis, but let's go to it's actually this one. So this gets rid of all of my confusion. And if you just look, back in June, Bitcoin had a low, right? It had a pullback. Bitcoin's had 20% pullbacks this year. So from here on April 14th to here, the next day, actually candle wicked lower, but either way, somewhere around 20%. Even if I go to this number, it was 20.1%. So there's your 20% pullback. So the daily candle on June 14th was the lowest close, and that was at $25,127 on this chart. This fluctuates $3 or $4 or $5 depending on which chart you're looking at. But you can see 3 months later, almost exactly 3 months later, actually a couple of days short of that, we got down to 24,900, but we closed at $25,157. $30 above that. I think that's 0.1% variant from this close. So, it doesn't, that's about as good of a retest as you could possibly get. So, very strong retest. I'll pull up the volume. It was on decent volume. All right, let me go to my other chart. I don't know why that didn't show the volume. So you can see, this was these daily candles. So nothing special here, but, certainly not low volume like these days before it. This was decent volume. We bottomed out, and this held, and we've turned back around. So I remain convinced. I've been saying all along, I feel very strongly that this line, my line's at $25,214. I'll show you guys why that is, because that number's a little bit different than the number we just looked at. But you'll see that goes back to August of 2022. We had the reverse situation. I'm going to go back in time a little bit. In 2022, we were knee deep in the Bitcoin and the crypto winter. So we had the opposite. We had, instead of a 20% pullback to get to that number, we had really only 2 big rallies in 2022. This was the last one. So from the bottom to the top, this was over a 40% rally to the upside. It peaked at $25,000. It peaked at $25,214. So to me, this line, you can see that was resistance here. It was strong resistance here again in February of 2023. As soon as it broke through in March of 2023, it has, on the daily time frame, it has held ever since. Now, if we super zoom in, you'll see that actually there were 2 daily candles that closed, $75 below that line. But I always talk about one day. Be careful with the one-day fake outs. And, within $75, you're within the margin of error. So that's really almost not even a fake out. So, we held very strong here. This was in June when we hit that low at 25. We hit it again. You can see we hit this on August 17th. We hit it a week later on August 22nd. We really, really tested it on September 11th. And then we've been up since then. So we could test it again, right? But we're a solid $1,200 above that rate now. That's a big move away from that line of support. And at 24,900, had that kept going the other way, we may have lost that support and had to go through 3 weeks or 2 months or whatever the case may be of testing a new low. So, who knows? That didn't happen. So to me, that's a major event that we really didn't talk about at all. So I'm very happy with the price action, despite this gigantic, I'm going to do an info line here. This is a very long, if you go back here, the day we crossed 25,200, that was March. From that day to this day is 182 days. That's 6 months. That's a half a year. We've been between 25,000 and 31,800 every single day for a half a year. So that's very long period. Now, we had some run-ups and 20% pullbacks in that time frame. So, it's not like nothing happened. We didn't just go sideways. As always, Bitcoin is very volatile, so it had its ups and downs, but that trading range, for a 6-month trading range, we've not left either side of it at all. So, and this is all inside of, I do also think it's important. Let's go just take a look at the bigger picture. I'm going to get rid of the volume because it gets in the way a little bit. We can look a little clearer. In the bigger picture, we're still, we had this double bottom back in November. This was the FTX day. If you guys remember, November 8th and 9th, that's when Bitcoin crashed down to a new low at around the 5,000 mark. So, from there, from that low, we're still up 70%. So, this is still a bull market we're in, but it has been very sideways, and I think it's, testing. I can't tell you which way this is going to go next. I tend to go with the trend. We're, 9 full months into upward momentum or sideways momentum. So until this flips, I think the next move is up. But I don't see anything at all that's telling me that we're off to the races. So, giant predictions of Bitcoin, even Bitcoin 40,000 or 50,000 or new all-time highs. To me, I just don't see anything that's showing that's happening in the short term. Now, we could get a catalyst that has nothing to do with the technicals. Let's say all of a sudden 7 weeks from now, they, within a week, they approve 5 Bitcoin ETFs, spot ETFs. That could cause a gigantic break to the upside. And that's looming out there. At some point, I do believe that is going to happen. So, there's a lot of positive catalysts, but we don't know. I'll show you the list I put at the beginning of this week because, where is that thing? So going into the week, this is what I had on my mind. On the weekends, I do a weekly update, so I'll do that again this week. Exhaustion, frustration, and anger. That is where we started this week. We had been sideways for 8 full weeks. Nothing was happening at all. Then, Marathon on Friday, we had the $417 million. We haven't even talked about the energy credits that Riot's getting. They put out a clarification on that. There was mass confusion around there. There are some other companies, including Iris Energy, that gets energy credits. So this is a big factor for the people that are able to capitalize mostly in the state of Texas is where the majority of these come from. This video is coming out this weekend, monthly operational report. All of the Bitcoin miners, all the top 12 have done their monthly report. So I crunch all those numbers. All that's done and waiting. I'll put the video out this weekend. The Hut 8 merger went through. So that was on the 12th. So we got that. It went through overwhelmingly. June 30th quarterly financial statements. Iris Energy Wednesday after the market closed. So to me, I did not think that was going to be a big event. I thought that was just going to really confirm a lot of what I thought. And it did confirm a lot of what I thought. There was just additional information. And then 8 was a giant question mark because we don't know what each week brings. So, this is on every week's list of what could potentially happen to Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners. There's a lot, and this goes to the uncertainty, and it's one of the things suppressing the price, in my opinion.
Wow. Did you see this? Over 600 trillion of shorts have just opened up on BTC.
600 million.
They said trillion, but
they
said there is now 10 quadrillion of short liquidation above us. That doesn't even make sense. People, see, this is a great example. There's no way that's right.
No, none of
There's
those.
no way that's right. And this is a person tweeting this out, saying this.
So, yeah. not financial advice.
No, yeah. And this is just another person. I wouldn't even, that's just insane.
Jeff is saying, essentially, I got all of these CleanSpark January 25 calls for free by selling the Marathon and Riot January 25 $10 puts. So that's an interesting trade. One pays for the other, and if they both work out, then you're right, you got them for free, and hopefully you make a lot of money on the calls. So I like that strategy. You know, if things go even reasonably well, that should be a great strategy in my opinion. JR said winter always coming. Somebody must have said winter's coming.
All I know is when people saying XRP to $100 in a year, I'm just like, yeah, right.
Stephen English is saying Sats maybe, not Bitcoin. And I think, what is there? Remind me, I think there's 100 million Satoshis for every one Bitcoin. So each Bitcoin breaks down into 100 million pieces, I believe. I could look that up easily.
Oh, you want Satoshis?
Yeah, so there's 1 million sats in one Bitcoin. So, and this is why you're able to buy, you know, such small fractional portions of Bitcoin. This is also why Bitcoin could get to such huge numbers. Like, I'm not talking about in the next 24 months, but when people like Kathy Wood and Michael Saylor talk about Bitcoin getting to $1 million, this is one of the things that will help Bitcoin get there, is because you don't have to go buy a Bitcoin. You can buy 1/1,000,000th of one Bitcoin. So even at $1 million, a millionth of a Bitcoin, 100 millionth of a Bitcoin, that's going to cost you what, a penny? Am I doing that math right? At $1 million?
Well, if there's, yeah, I mean, that's, yeah.
So there's a lot of room to the upside. And I do think over time, you know, and it may be years down the road, I'm extremely bullish on Bitcoin. I think we're going to hit staggering numbers at some point in the future. I
think you say in your lifetime.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's what I say, in my lifetime.
And I don't even, I would say by 2030. That's not that long from now. It feels like a long time from now. That's 7 years from now, less. So I think by 7 years from now, Bitcoin's going to be at a staggeringly higher number.
You know what I think?
What do you think?
Bitcoin's going down.
Yeah, I'm aware. I'm going to end this eternal poll. We have 201 votes. So just as a matter of record, are you in favor of Iris's $500 million stock dilution? We're exactly at 80% no, 20% yes. So you know,
80-20.
It's your 80-20 rule, George. So, and I think it's more complicated than that. I just don't think there's any one answer, and, you know, time is going to tell. I'm going to hope for the best. That's the end of that for now. So, all right, so we can't go without our standard issue.
Oh, which way is Bitcoin going? Up or down or left or right?
This poll's been very split for coming up on 3 weeks now. This used to be a very decisive poll. Sometimes it was in one direction, sometimes it was in the other direction, but we seem to have a lot of consensus. But lately, it makes sense to me. Bitcoin's so hard to figure out right now. Lately, this poll's been like very split.
Oh, Tom, now we got something to talk about.
Okay.
Sorry, I hope Toronto made it. The Hut merger. I heard it was like 95% approved it or something that high.
Yeah, 96 plus. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, some ridiculous. This just like wow. What do you think?
Give me 10 seconds to post this.
Okay.
I'll give you my thoughts. That's probably the biggest thing that happened this week, and we really haven't even talked about it. So
yeah.
All right, so we'll put this poll up, and we will say Bitcoin's next move. Hold above 25,000, but stay sideways. By the way, that's what's been happening for a long, long time. That doesn't mean that's going to continue to happen. Test new lows, go below this 25. So the 25 doesn't hold. We go below. We test new lows. Or do we finally break out of this range? Really, this won't even be a breakout of the 6-month range, but it'll be a breakout of our now 9-week range, which has been sideways in a super tight, $1,200 or $1,500 range here. Can we break back to the upside, at least get back to $30,000? So I'll leave that up there for a few minutes. Let's see. So far, it's doing the same thing. We're all over the place, and that won't surprise me because I'll tell you, I don't know. It's getting harder and harder to. The short term is. Maybe it's not getting any harder. Maybe the more time goes by, the more I'm just realizing, to get a short term. This is just. It's a fool's game to try to guess. But that's part of what we do. Barry said, Tom, were you surprised by the size of the Hut merge vote? I was a little surprised. I do think, they had a couple of big firms come out and in favor of this prior to the vote. Obviously, there's big blocks of votes that were in favor of this. So somebody brought up what seems like maybe a very basic question, but I do think it's worth at least mentioning. It's 96% of the shares that voted yes. So, there may have been a lot of individuals, i.e. retail investors, that didn't want this. But, one share, one vote, retail investors, don't necessarily control nearly as many shares. So I think that, and a lot of the people, if you proxied your vote, it was yes, pretty much. So yeah, I guess it was a little surprise. I was in favor of this. I am absolutely in favor of this. I think these two companies are a match. They are a pair. They complement each other. Nothing's perfect, but I do think they're very complementary. I think like everything, every merger, when mixing two different corporate cultures, there's going to be a period of, where they got to figure some stuff out, but the sum is greater than, what do they say, George? The
sum is greater than the what?
The parts.
I don't know what they say.
You guys know what I'm talking about.
I don't know what you're talking about, Tom.
I
lost you. People are giving me compliments. People are giving me compliments, so my ego is so big right now. It's so hard.
Nice. Good. Very good, George.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, you look fantastic.
Yeah, you guys just missed seeing me. That's all it was. Right? That's what it was. No, I work out like a fiend. I wouldn't say I'm really losing any weight, but I'm strong. I benched 315, Tom, for 8 times today.
Wow, nice.
Isn't that insane? I was like, oh my goodness.
Let me ask you this. Do you even use a spotter when you bench 315? Or
No,
do you just
no,
go
I don't.
and
No,
then just
bench.
I knew you were going to say that.
That's why I won't go for 405. I was thinking about doing 405 today because I gotta think I can get it.
We'll spot.
Yeah,
have you told our buddy? We have a buddy, Tom, that
we worked out for our whole lives together.
Yes, and
Or,
Tom's
well,
also a very large individual, so I think if he's seeing this, he's probably gonna head to the gym right now, hearing those numbers.
I'll tell you
from
one
you.
thing though. How about Colorado College?
Yeah.
That is the team to talk about. Sorry, and I know this ain't a sports channel, and I won't start going. But man, oh man.
Deion Sanders, and we happen to have a friend that is an assistant coach on that team.
Yes.
So, for that reason, in addition, we're rooting for them.
That's insane, though. I mean, they're just. Oh, they're the second highest. They're the second highest ticket price right now of all of college football.
Wow.
Ohio State's still higher.
Those Ohio State fans, man.
Shut up. Sour Mel, you're so funny. Even my wife commented.
That's funny.
You guys are so funny.
Raul said, Coach Prime. Yeah, listen, he's doing his thing so far.
His kids are studs and a half, dude. I mean, they're going to change the NFL with those guys.
Stephen English is saying Marathon seems to have mined over 100 Bitcoin in the last 24 hours. So we can double check that. That's astounding. I give Marathon a lot of credit. I was very mystified at what they did recently. I am going to dig into it this weekend. Crypto Fever, gave me some details on that, and we did talk about that a lot on the members only stream, so I'll look into that. I'm never going to get comfortable with what they did, but I don't think it drastically changes the direction of their company. And if they're mining 100 Bitcoin in a day, that is absolutely amazing. I don't know if I have on this machine. I use a different machine to do these live streams. I have all this stuff saved on my other machines, because someone's saying just go look at Marathon's mining pool. But if somebody wants to do that, they have their own page where you can just look at exactly what they've done, or you can just go to the generic page and just count the ones that went to the Marathon pool. Either way, it's easier to go to the Marathon page for sure.
Well, what's funny was I was reading also on Twitter that PayPal paid out the wrong amount of money for a Bitcoin.
Huh? What do you mean?
Paid out the wrong amount of money for a Bitcoin. Like somebody sold
by
it
accident?
and then yeah, by accident, yeah.
Did that person win or lose?
Yeah, but I mean, they're gonna have to give it back.
Tom,
you would think they would.
Tom, not me. Tom, who is a member, is asking how about a poll on when the ETFs get approved. So we will do that poll next. And Gary is saying, and we're halfway through the month, so Gary's saying Marathon is still on pace for a lower month than August. They always have big spikes and big valleys. They're never able to keep the spikes up. And that is definitely true. There's days where it seems like they're off the charts, and then the next day, they'll mine 2 blocks.
So Tom, where are they? Where do they mainly have their locations?
Texas.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they are a Texas Bitcoin mining company. Obviously, they have their joint venture, but it is a tiny, immaterial part in the United Arab Emirates. Someday, that may be a much larger piece of the puzzle, but for now, and they talked at great length, not just on the interview that I had with them, on their conference call, everywhere they can say it. They say they want to geographically diversify. That's a part of their plan, but I'm not sure how much of that they're going to be able to accomplish over time, because they really have so much exahash in Texas that they would have to grow astronomically to meet their goals. So I think some of those are more 2, 3, 4, 5-year plans if they can make it happen. We'll see. Big Suey. So Sue did get back to me, and they do still have to wait for SEC approval on this, and then she's coming on the channel to talk about what's happening and what they're doing going forward. So we're getting very close to Sue coming on. I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully you guys are looking forward to that. Because, you know,
I'm sure everybody is.
Well, for a period of time, it was like there was no point in having Sue on because she really couldn't say anything, and it's like, oh, sorry, I can't answer that question, you know. So those are just frustrating interviews. But now the vote's done. Once the SEC's done, she's gonna be able to talk about what's going on, and that will be a much more insightful interview.
Do you think that we're gonna first dibs at Sue, or I won't say what I want to say?
I don't know. Who knows, right? I mean, Sue's job is to go out and to talk to people. So I know she's stayed in constant contact, which I appreciate. She's very good at that, but I'm sure she's got 10 other people she's lining up interviews with at the same time. So all I can do is when she comes on our channel, you know, we'll try and get feedback from you guys as to what you want to hear most about. And we'll try and ask her some questions that we're interested in.
I think that's a really good idea, Tom. So, what other miners? Any other shocks from any other miners?
To me, the big news this week was, you know, obviously the Iris Energy earnings. And also, that allows me, I'm going to have a lot of videos I can put out in the next week and a half because that was the final June 30th financial statement that I have been waiting for. I have all this analysis I've done that I didn't want to leave them out of. So they've now done their June 30th financial statements, so we'll start to get some other info as well that I think is going to be interesting. Comparing the court at, you know, on a monthly basis, we get to compare based on their each Bitcoin miner's monthly updates. But some Bitcoin miners' monthly updates are a lot more detailed than others. When we get these quarterly, or in Iris's case, it was actually their annual report, there's a lot more information. So I was able to, I've already pulled that all apart, even though they only do semi-annual reporting. They give enough information in their monthly updates that I was able to pull apart and get quarterly data for all 4 quarters of the year, even though they don't have financial statements. So I will be able to compare quarter to quarter to quarter. So I'm looking forward to that.
What about Core? Yeah, that's a good question. I want to know that one. Any information on Core?
To me, I always feel the same way on this, and maybe I'm the wrong person to ask, but the reality is, to me, until they come out of bankruptcy, I don't know how you have any idea what your equity is going to be worth. Right? Because remember, there's $1 billion still in debt. Now, is some of that going to get forgiven? Is some of it going to get converted to equity? Is some of it going to remain debt? All those things are probably going to be true. But what does that mean for the current shareholders? And I just don't know how anybody would know the answer to that until they come out of Chapter 11. We have seen a few success cases, but I will tell you, and one of them was in Southwest Florida. One of the all-time success cases of coming out of Chapter 11 was a Southwest Florida company, which was Hertz. They're the poster child for success in that matter as far as from the shareholders' point of view. So maybe Core Scientific is the next Hertz for all I know, but I just don't know. So I will tell you this, I've missed a heck of a trade so far because at one point, from their low to their high, at one point, they were up 2,000% in 3 months. So then it kind of balanced off to about 1,000%. Now it's at about 800%. But even now, if you held all the way through that, if you bought at the bottom and are still holding right now, you're up 800%. So, George, I'm surprised you didn't take this opportunity to remind me.
Yeah, I know.
George wanted to buy at the bottom. It got down to 4 cents. And I guess
I was right around
point,
then.
It's like, why not?
Who cares? Yeah.
And there were 2 or 3 members that said, you know what, just buy at this point. If you guys remember, in December, every single Bitcoin miner was so unbelievably beaten into the ground. There were a couple of people that said, just buy equal shares of everything. Some of them are going to be successful, and you're going to be way ahead. And if you do the math, that is true. If you did just that, you'd be still, even after this 8 or 9 weeks of pullback, I think you'd be up like 250% from December.
Hey, just FYI, I gotta leave in 15 minutes. The
All
police
right.
are coming over. The police.
Really?
Yeah. I told you I got hacked, right? Or like identity theft or something like that.
Yep, that stinks.
That was a rough one. I don't recommend it to anybody.
Cosmic Contrarian is saying, I can't see how any shareholder will come out with anything. I think that's on Core Scientific. Stephen English is saying, George, you took Tom's financial advice. That's on Core Scientific Trade. I don't think he had super strong conviction. I just think it was more of a, look at this, it's at 4 cents. Why not?
Right.
Which was a fair point. I mean, and it played out exactly that way. Gary is saying, has Mara gotten all 23 of their exahash mining? I believe the last 4 exahash was imminent any day for the last 4 days, but never started. So I don't know the answer to that, Gary. I haven't looked at their pool, and in their August monthly update, they used the exact word you just used, which was imminent, that they were going to be at their 23.3 exahash. So I'm not sure if they're there yet or not. So we're halfway through the month. They'll let us know in the next monthly. Mr. J said, I wish Riot would pay dividends. My only issue, Mr. J, is I really, really, really don't want to see any Bitcoin miner pay dividends until we get through the halving and Bitcoin gets back into, a much healthier number, because I think it's more important than getting a couple bucks in a dividend, to me, is making absolute certain that if Bitcoin, goes sideways for longer than we think, your company survives. And 2, for a company like Riot, there's probably going to be big opportunities if Bitcoin does not do well. I mean, the one takeaway I got talking to Fred, and, this is my assumption based on the conversation that I had, it almost felt like they want Bitcoin to go sideways or down, because with their balance sheet with $100 million in the bank, I feel like they think a lot of their competition won't make it through a halving where Bitcoin is not doing well. He specifically said, I think there's a chance of the global hash rate pulling back 20 or 30%, and a chance for them to, capitalize on opportunities, if Bitcoin is in that $25,000 to $30,000 range. So, which is probably all true. Rich Crypto saying marathon to 100 when Bitcoin smashes all-time high in 2024. I mean, that would not surprise me at all. Gary's saying he's correct in, he was saying Marathon's been saying imminent, not for the last 4 days, for the last 4 months, which is true. They keep, every report, they keep saying it's imminent, it's imminent, it's imminent. I guess eventually they're going to be right. But to their credit, in 2023, they have had massive amounts come online. Whereas in 2022, they talked about it all year, and, it's just one disappointment after the next after the next.
After the halving, can there be another big Bitcoin miner?
Like a new one?
Yeah.
To me, the 2 barriers to a new Bitcoin miner coming in are, number 1, access to energy, and number 2, there's only a certain amount of Bitcoin mining machines being made. So, at that point, to be a major Bitcoin miner, somebody's going to have to walk in the door. If you're talking about another Marathon or another Riot or another CleanSpark or potentially Iris Energy, if they do their thing, somebody's going to have to come and buy a couple 100,000 machines. Now, there's plenty of companies that that's pocket change for them financially, but the question is, where do you go find 200,000 latest and greatest machines, because you certainly don't want to go buy all the old inefficient machines. So there are some barriers to entry in that. The caveat to that, and again, talking to Fred, I didn't really get this when he said it, but when I re-listened to the interview, he talked about how they're focusing on immersion cooling, and that is what they're using in the UAE, and that it's so healthy for the machines that it's been maintenance free for them. And as a result of that, you don't need anybody on site. So what he talked about was microsites, and he specifically talked about using a lot of that burn off that oil companies have to do, capturing that and using that, so you'd have microsites all over the place. So, that leads to the thought a lot of people have long speculated, based on 3 or 4 things Fred has said over the last couple of years, that maybe there's a merger out there between Marathon and one of the big oil companies. Exxon is the one people keep talking about. I don't know that there's any line of reasoning why it would be that one, but, that there is a natural fit there. If they could go grab all that energy that's 100% wasted right now. It exists. It's 100% wasted. If they could turn that into Bitcoin, why not?
Yeah, I think people don't realize that all that energy that's made that isn't used is wasted.
Right.
It's not like this is like a big battery where they can store it.
There's massive, massive wasted energy out there still. So, capturing and especially if you're an oil company, your cost of energy is actually zero because you have the energy and you're wasting it. So if you can take that and turn it into Bitcoin, your cost per coin is zero from an energy standpoint. Obviously, there's always still other costs, but that's the main cost. So that's why it is a natural fit. The hard part is, you can't go put 50,000 machines. There's just not that kind of energy in any one spot that's wasted. So you'd have to spread it out over a lot of locations. But Fred specifically talked about doing just that. But what he talked about was, licensing their proprietary firmware and software and equipment, right? Because they matched up with that ASIC equipment maker as well. So, he talked about more of a licensing thing, but, maybe that's because he really can't come out and say, oh, by the way, we may one day get bought out by, such and such company.
I heard they're buying a lot of companies such and such.
Crypto Rich said, I like how they can't physically do immersion cooling in Texas, allegedly, but Mara can do it in the UAE. Stephen English said, I keep saying a buyout from UAE sovereign wealth funds. So that's another absolute potential buyout. And Marathon's already, so that's a good point, Stephen English. They've already teamed up with them on a project. So are the sovereigns going to get more and more into mining Bitcoins? And George, that might be one of the answers to, can there be another, major player in this? Obviously, these sovereigns have, endless is an exaggeration, but extreme amounts of money.
Well, have you looked at the heat map at all lately on Bitcoin mining?
No.
Well, you know who's starting to mine a lot, right? Russia.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. They're starting to really start to mine, which was interesting to me.
That is true, and it's funny how it keeps migrating to different places.
Yeah.
So, and we'll see, they may have, because they have a lot of oil, they may have a lot, they may be utilizing this energy recapture with a lot of their wasted energy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if that's how they're doing it or if they're just straight up, for all I know, they're using coal mines. I have no idea.
I think it's starting to finally. When would you call it a mature market for Bitcoin, at least? Maybe not the rest of the crypto.
I mean, I still think Bitcoin has a lot of big things to happen before it's mature. I still think we're we're very early in this, in my opinion. You know, it's a lot more mature than it was the last halving. It's come a long way. There's, you know, endless amounts of adoption versus any other period in history, but there's still all the big things that have to happen haven't happened yet. And that is keeping the institutional money, you know, as far as directly buying Bitcoin, the institutional money is, for all intents and purposes, 100% out right now. So to me, that's when this will mature. Not only when a vehicle gets created for them to invest, but the learning curve for the companies and for their customers. When that process gets through, there's a lot of education. We got to get through all this FUD on its negative effect on energy. I think that will happen as regulations come. So that's another piece to the puzzle. When the ETFs come, obviously, we need regulations on, in my opinion, and again, I'm not normally ever, this might be the only time you ever hear me talk about I want regulations. The crypto exchanges are screaming for regulations. The stable coins, which George has been talking about since we started this, need some regulations. We need transparency. I think we need to make sure stable coins are not taking bets where they could get caught illiquid. Even if they're buying things that are $1 on the dollar, if they get caught illiquid, that could be a problem. So I think those are the big pieces of regulation that we need. I think we need to get through this process of geographically who's going to be Bitcoin friendly, who's not going to be. There's going to be places that will never be Bitcoin friendly from a mining standpoint. There just will be. But having said that, there's plenty of places that are already Bitcoin friendly, and there's others that I think are going to start to see, wow, you know, Texas has 15 new towns that popped up that are thriving. And, you know, their grid's in the best shape it's ever been, et cetera, et cetera. You know, maybe we should do that. Oh, by the way, plus, they're collecting monumental amounts of taxes like you found out in Georgia.
Yeah, 500 for, well, I won't say the name of the city but right around $500,000. Thank you, CleanSpark. The untold stories of Bitcoin. Those dirty miners. Filthy.
Scott said 100% Colorado covers this Saturday. Just on sports aside note.
100%.
FE702, the Riot video on the new facility is crazy. If you guys haven't seen that, that is worth a watch. It really puts in perspective seeing, and George and I both have background in, you know, land and construction and development and that kind of stuff. The scale of what they're doing is just staggering. It's just it's incredible what these companies are doing. So, you know, to Edmund's point earlier, the facility in Childress is on a similar scale. Those are just staggeringly huge facilities. So the infrastructure that they're creating is massive. So it is very impressive to watch. That's Riot put out I think the one I saw was like a 2.5-minute video, but, you know, kind of told the story. So definitely worth watching.
Well, I got to leave.
Thank
you,
George.
Everybody, for watching. Thanks, Tom, for another great stream.
And
even though I don't know if I agree with you on Iris, but
I know a lot of people will not agree with me. Hopefully they can respectfully agree to disagree. And you know, that's just how investing goes. If we all agreed on everything, we wouldn't need to talk about it.
We wouldn't make any money probably either.
Well, right. If this was easy, everybody would
Tom,
do it.
Can you commit to one thing?
Let's see. I won't promise that until I hear what it is.
Going over option strategies on the member stream on Tuesday.
You want to talk options on the members on Tuesday?
Yeah, some type of like straddle or or even shorts with puts, or
We'll talk about something we have not yet talked about on the
Okay.
Tuesday live stream pertaining to options. Agreed.
Okay, cool. Thanks, everyone.
All right, George, have a great weekend.
You guys.
Let's take a look at the poll. I think we can end this poll. 82 votes, a half an hour. So once again, very, very, very split. So Bitcoin's next move, 30% of the people said it's going to hold 25,000 and go sideways. 38%, so that was the biggest one, said it's going to test new lows below 25,000. So that actually surprises me. And then 32% of the people think we're going up to 30,000. So really, if you balance this out, we're a little bit bearish as a group right now. So we're typically either neutral or a little bit bullish. So at the moment, this group is a little bit bearish. So that is interesting, and that is a different result than we usually have. So I'll end that poll. I'll do one last poll. We did have a request for when will we get a BTC spot ETF? Give me just 1 second to type. All right, so let's see. When will we get a Bitcoin spot ETF? Are we going to get one in 2023? Remember, there's only 3.5 months left in this year, as hard as that is to believe. 2024, but before the Bitcoin halving. 2024, but after the Bitcoin halving. Or is it going to be 2025 or later, which could include never, if you think we're never going to get one. So what's everybody think? Thank you, everybody. We got over 100 likes. That's always our goal, so much appreciated. Thanks, everybody, for watching and joining, for smashing the like button, and for all your thoughts and comments. I know we had big disagreements, potentially, on Iris Energy, so, and I will watch if if I'm seeing things that tell me that, I should change my mind. I'm always open to listening to other people's opinions and watching what happens over time, because, this is forever changing. On that note, admin is saying they are now building the next 80 megawatt facility. Behind that is another 500 megawatts at Childress. So I think, admin, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that's 600 megawatts just at Childress, plus they have, I don't remember how much, but they have, a bunch of megawatts beyond that, maybe like 160 or something. That might not be right. Edmund will probably know off the top of his head. So, they will ultimately, this will put them, with, the big, and remember, Marathon mines a lot of Bitcoin, but they don't, right now, they did the asset light thing. They don't have this infrastructure. So the company this is most similar to really is Riot, which is right there in Texas with them. But like Iris points out, they're using different technology. Riot has really committed themselves to immersion cooling, and Iris Energy has committed themselves to their data centers that they create. So, so far, it is absolutely Iris has been a more efficient Bitcoin miner than Riot. Now, one of the things that does skew that a little bit is Riot has taken so much curtailment money that it's hard to completely tell. But I will say, I do think Riot and Marathon have been two of the laggers as far as efficiency as it pertains to Bitcoin mined per exahash. So we'll see what happens over time. obviously that'll continue to get updated as time goes by. But for 2023, I mean, we are now 8 months into the year. For all 8 months, Bitfarms, Iris Energy, Hive Blockchain, and Cleanspark have been the top 4 most efficient using the equation of Bitcoin mined by average exahash. So that's been all 8 months this year. Those 4 have really separated themselves from the group, in my opinion. If you wanted to add a fifth one, BitDigital has had a similar level of efficiency. They're just so much smaller than even the smallest of the other 4 that I just mentioned, that they don't make my list because they're not big enough. FE702 is saying 40K Bitcoin October. I'm in. Listen, I would be thrilled with that. And I think that could happen. In September, I will say, and September's only half over, so anything could happen. I felt September we would be okay. This is historically the worst, just statistically speaking, it's the worst month out of all 12 months of the year for Bitcoin, historically speaking. But I don't know that that's a really strong statistic. So I felt like we would be at least sideways in September. I thought there was a really good chance we'd be green by the end of September. I still think that. I know we just had a poll that a lot of people think we're either staying sideways or going lower, but I think 25,000 has been tested severely multiple times, and it has held up. But you know, it holds up until it doesn't hold up. That's how all these things go. So I think it is going to hold. I've been saying that all along. I'm hopeful. I think it's going to hold. I think we're going higher, but I don't think we're running. I don't think we're off to the races. I don't think we're going to break out of our trading range, but we have a lot of room left to the upside, even inside of this relatively reasonably tight range that we've been in. So that's my expectation really for September, October. So, you know, that could be where we're sitting. We could have a $5,000 run in September and October and still be inside of, you know, that would put us at the very top of the range, but it would not yet be a breakout. The next $1,000 from there would be a full-blown breakout, and then I think we could do what FE702 is talking about and get to maybe $35,000 or $40,000. I'm hopeful for that, but I haven't seen anything that says we're doing that, you know, that's screaming that we're going to do that yet. But FE702, I hope you're right. Obviously, I think we all probably would be rooting for that. Although there may be some people who hope we still go sideways for a while so they can continue to accumulate. I know a lot of people feel that way as well. Nash V said, thanks for everything, Tom. You're welcome. And thank you, Nash V, for being a member and for your support. Thanks to all members. Much appreciated. Your support is very much appreciated. Comments are appreciated. Thanks to subscribers. If you're not a subscriber and you are interested in this content, we talk about, by this time you realize we talk about Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners all the time on this channel. We also talk about a lot of other small cap high growth stocks in the members only section. So that's something different. If you're interested in being a member, you can hit the join button on the YouTube page right next to the subscribe button. It's $5 a month. There's a lot of benefits we talked about. But if you're not interested in that and you just want to subscribe, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and smash the like button. It really helps the channel out a lot, and it's much appreciated. Robert Anderson said, yes, I'm really waiting to see all miners lined up against each other. So, yeah, we're going to get to see that both for the month of August. I'll do all my normal reports, and then really for the most recent quarterly reports, we're going to get some more really interesting information. So I'm looking forward to getting that out. Edmund is saying, Tom, 180 megawatts at 3 sites in Canada, 20 megawatts in Childress, 80 megawatts under construction, another 500 megawatts planned. So that would be 780 megawatts when they're done. So, you know, to Edmund's point, the only company that I know that would be bigger than that from an infrastructure standpoint is Riot. So, You know, that would put kind of Iris and Riot in their own league. Even though Marathon has the most machines, you know, they don't have the infrastructure. Edmund said, Tom, thanks. Just go easy on Iris for 6 months. Yeah, I'm gonna do what I talked about. I'll take a little bit off the table. I added heavily all year. I'm gonna hold the majority of what I have, and I'm gonna wait and see what happens. For all I know, I'm gonna be buying Iris again by the end of the year, right? I mean, that could very well be. And if I do so, I will let you guys know, of course, immediately. Cosmic Contrarian said, Tom, I really enjoy this content. Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Appreciate you being a member. Edmund, I appreciate you being a member as well. And Darren, appreciate it. Darren said, short Iris. Darren and Cosmic Contrarian should switch names. Darren enjoys being the Contrarian. And we enjoy your comments, Darren. Robert said, the big companies will all be that big. They just don't put pie in the sky stuff out there only to be repossessed later. FV702 said, I swear you know nothing. I'm not sure who he's talking to about. If he's talking about me, you might be right for all I know. Then I wouldn't know if I did, right? No, I'm not sure who you're talking to. I don't know. Everybody knows something, FE702. Michael Anthony said, Ford, after the close, said they're going to lay off workers, and that will scare many of them now, and they all better watch out. Now, yeah, because the union is going on an unusual, different kind of strike. It's not a full-blown strike. They're calling it like a walking strike or something like that. On all three of the major U.S. Auto manufacturers, but it's going to be targeted. Certain people are going to go home at certain times, so it's not like everybody's walking off the job today. So it sounds like Ford, in response to that, is laying off some workers. So we'll see how that battle goes. Robert said, I love this group. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Robert. So much appreciated. Sour Melon Gaming said, still buying Iris. Maybe I'm the odd one here. No, I don't think you're alone at all, Sour Melon Gaming. I think there's, 20% were in favor of what they did. And as time goes by and people digest that, remember, we're still only just a couple of days away from getting all this massive amount of information. So more people may change their mind. We'll see what happens. FE702 said, about Iris dilution not happening. So you think it's not, you think the dilution's not going to happen, or I'm not sure what you're going at there. Maybe you think they're going to go slower. Robert Anderson, healthy debates to see things from different angles. Love it. Yeah, thank you, Robert. And that's what I'm trying to do. So hopefully that's how this comes across. I feel like all you guys are productive, and you're absolutely not afraid to give me your counterpoint, and hopefully that helps everybody. There's nothing better than point counterpoint, and getting different perspectives. So I appreciate that from everybody. Crypto Fever said, Tom, I don't think he was talking about you. Okay, I'm not sure. Listen, people have said worse things about me this week in my comments, so I can take it. Let's see. At Robert Anderson, agreed. Always a good debate here. Thank you, Crypto Fever. That was from Crypto Fever. FE702 said dilution was always in the cards. So I do agree. There's certainly, to get where they want to go, there was going to be dilution. There's no doubt about it. And Brenner said, so what is the conclusion about all these dilution? And I think that was the debate today. I don't know that we can have a conclusion. I think this is going to continue to unfold over time. We'll see. The key to me is we have to watch. What Marathon did was an event. I am going to dig into that per Crypto Fever's request and see, what that short seller had to do with all this. And that was a one-time event. But the Bitcoin miners, and I do believe this, and I have always said this, certainly this is a very capital intensive industry. There's just no way around it. And the more vertically integrated you get, and I do think, you know, in my opinion, not financial advice, I do think that's the right business model. The more vertically integrated you get, the more capital you require. So there's going to be dilution. Debt is not an option for the Bitcoin miners, not substantial amounts of debt anyway. There will be some tiny targeted debt here and there, but nobody's going to raise, you know, significant money through debt. So, and unfortunately at this price of Bitcoin, people are not, even though a lot of these companies are still cash flow positive, which I do think is important, they're not so cash flow positive that they can fund CapEx. So I've said this many times, the only thing that leaves is dilution. So the only thing we can hope is that the companies be as responsible as they can and, you know, use it wisely and have it be accretive to the company overall. And I think there's a lot of companies doing a good job at that. FE702 said, and then there was Fred. I don't like Fred. So I don't think you're alone, FE702. So, yeah, I mean, dilution of those numbers, Ty is pointing out, you know, because Marathon's so much bigger of a market cap, it's less of a percentage of dilution, which is true. But to me, it was, what did they get for it versus what they could have gotten? That was more of an opportunity cost for me. If I don't want to go through that again. We talked about that at great length last Friday. I also thought that was a very excellent conversation with a lot of different viewpoints. My thing mostly was I think there was opportunity cost. They left some on the table. I think they could have done a better job negotiating. But I am going to look into, you know, what this impact this short seller had on all of that. Maybe their hand was forced and this is what they had to do for all I know. Let's see, Crypto Fever. That short seller received $100 million less than what was due in the debt they took the loss to cover a nasty $40 million short and avoid a short squeeze. So maybe that's what I'm going to find out. Crypto Fever, $417 million due, and they received equivalent of around $300 million. Robert said, Fred seems like a guy that if he says the wrong thing, he might be offed or something. Bit of a shady feel to him. Not sure why. I will say this about Fred. I think he's a little, what's the word? He's a little less loose. He's very, seems to be very business, you know, business only. So I felt in my conversation, a lot of the other people I talked to, it felt a lot more like a conversation. With Fred, it did feel like, you know, okay, next question, here's the answer. You know, not that it was rude or anything. I just think that is more along the lines with his personality. So he did seem a little more all business in my opinion. That's just my opinion. Darren said, FV, I don't like Fred either. I do like money, and Mara December 2025 calls spells millions to me. So conclusion, I like Fred. And Stephen English said, Fred is quite formal. So that sums it up, Stephen English. That's exactly what I was trying to say. He's very, very formal versus some of the other people that we've talked to. Let's see what the poll is saying, and then when will we get a Bitcoin spot ETF? 2023, 33%. Say we're going to get it this year. That's 3.5 months. So that would be awesome. 2024 before the halving is 53 cents. So 53%. So if you add those two up, the amount of people that think we're going to get it before the halving is 86%. And due to rounding, this doesn't all add up to 100. Well, now it just popped to 87%. And then 13% think we're going to get it in 2024, but after the halving. And interesting, so I'm glad we have these polls. I find it interesting, 0 people think it's going to be in 2025 or later. So the SEC's been dragging this out as long as they possibly can. I think Gary Gensler in specific, but it seems like everybody here agrees it may take a little bit more time, but they're not going to be able to drag it out past the end of 2024. And if that's the case, and I completely agree with that, I actually do think we're going to get it before the halving. So that would have been my vote. I don't get to vote, but that would have been my vote. So, but certainly, so we have a lot of consensus here. We have 100% consensus that by the end of 2024, we're going to have our spot ETF. So I think everybody's right. I hope everybody's right. I'll end that poll. I'm going to end on that. I hope everybody enjoyed this. I hope everybody it seems like everybody feels good. We have some spirited debate on here, but that's what it's all about. So I appreciate everybody for joining the live stream. And thanks again. Special thanks to all the members. Thanks to the super chats. And I hope everybody has a fantastic weekend. Today was not necessarily the best day for Bitcoin. Let's just do one final check on Bitcoin. So pretty much sideways over the time. A little bit of an upward move, but 26,500-ish. That's where we end. Hopefully by the time we meet next week, we're up from here. So everybody, please have a great weekend. Be safe, have fun, and we'll see you guys next week. Thank you.